Welcome back for another edition of Pinellas Courtside Connection, where we bring you inside the Pinellas County high school basketball scene with a look back at recent scores, check in on the countywide top 10 rankings, and look ahead to some of the upcoming games in the upcoming week. I'm Kevin Fisher, and I'll be your host once again as we talk hoops this week on Pinellas Courtside Connection. This week, we'll be joined later in the show by Seminole Warhawks girls varsity head coach John Hobbs as we get a chance to hear from Coach about the Warhawks World Tour as they travel the state of Florida, playing games from everywhere from Orlando to Fort Myers, all the way through Pinellas County. Look forward to hearing from Coach and checking in on his Warhawks. Well, I know it's only been a couple of days since we last checked in when we had an interview with Coach Johnson. And man, it's been a wild couple days of basketball here in Pinellas County. Quite a wild weekend, and certainly fitting given that it's wild card weekend in the NFL playoffs. You know, on the boys' side, my phone started blowing up over the weekend as Gibbs and Calvary started battling out in a game that proved to be go to Gibbs' favor, a 5-point 57-52 win for Gibbs, but it was a back-and-forth battle over at a packed Calvary gym as the number one team in the county battled against a rising Calvary Christian team. Gibbs, once again, no surprise, led by Jacob Daniels, who finished with 24 points and 5 steals, leading the way in a thriller of a game. Again, coming down to the wire. It was a must-see TV. It was great seeing clips from NFHS Network, people tuning in live, whether they were at home, at games, whatever it was. But there was a buzz about Gibbs high school basketball and a good battle that it was. Calvary was led by Ace Taylor, who had 21 points, and Ethan Sabick finishing with 22, coming up short for Calvary. But we've been talking all year about who is going to be the team to give Gibbs a run here in Pinellas County. Calvary certainly took its best shot at it, but it was Gibbs holding off in a battle-tested win for Gibbs as they came out on top. On the girls' side, the local scene this weekend, you had the private public school challenge hosted over at Hollins, and it was CCC, the Marauders, coming out on top as they improved to 13-2 as they beat Largo in the final game of that shootout. And over on the also on the girls' side, you look over at the MLK Classic over at Lakewood, a great basketball showcase. You have the top teams in the area participating. Lakewood is joined by Keswick, Bogey, and Clearwater. And you had some great teams from out of county coming in for that competition. You had Plant traveling in from Tampa. You had Cardinal Mooney, who very well could be a 3A state championship contender, coming up from Sarasota. You had Norland traveling up from Miami. Calvary Christian Academy from over in Ormond Beach. Again, just setting the stage for a great weekend of basketball down at Lakewood. We obviously had a front row seat for the Keswick games. Keswick was able to top Palmetto and Calvary Christian Academy from Ormond Beach. It was great to be able to take in the action, see some of those top teams in action. For me, it was my first time seeing Lakewood in action in person, other than video. So it was a great learning experience on that. And man, let me tell you, that team can play. They can score quickly. They also have that unique balance where they can slow the ball down, and get a solid possession, and certainly proving to be the number one team in the county and the team to beat in Pinellas County. I know the FHSAA rankings have a slight different indication, but again, I think everybody here knows there's no doubt about it that Lakewood is the team to beat here in Pinellas County. Certainly a lot of action on the courts, even just in a short weekend since we last checked in. But let's take a look at the girls basketball rankings on the top 10 side. A little bit of movement, but again, much of the same. That we'll see a lot of the same teams at the top. You have Lakewood sitting at 11-3. They've won their last 5 games. They had 2 big wins over the MLK Classic, beating a tough Norland team from Miami and topping Plant, who was always a solid team, coming from Tampa, always a state contender, one of the top teams in the area. Lakewood holding strong at number 1, again, proving to be the team to beat in Pinellas County. Gibbs holds at number 2. The Gladiators at 8-6, with Keswick at number 3 knocking on the door there. Keswick at 13-2. had a big win, 2 big wins at the MLK Classic. At the Berkeley Prep game, you talk about memory-setting games, and it was a lopsided game, but for the Crusaders, senior Ava Graham became the Crusaders' all-time leading scorer. She finished with 26 points and 12 rebounds in that game, pushing her career total, though, to 1,476 points. An amazing accomplishment given the track record of the Crusaders and the number of players that have really played through that program. Again, shout out to Ava Graham for becoming the school's all-time leading scorer as she continues throughout the season. We'll be sure to keep tabs on that. Again, Clearwater staying at number 4, CCC at number 5. And again, no change. Countryside at number 6. There's a little bit of a shakeup in the bottom half of the top 10. You have Palm Harbor bumping up a spot. They completed the trifecta for the week with wins over Northeast, Seminole, and Calvary, which gives them the edge, obviously, over Calvary in the rankings. Again, Pinellas Courtside Connection rankings weights the county rankings, the county results rather, a little bit heavier than what you would traditionally see from the computer rankings in Max Preps or the FHSAA. Eastlake slides up a spot, moving up to number 9, more so a matter of circumstances with those other results falling the way that they did. The Eagles picked up a win over Pinellas Park. It's great to see the Eagles back in action. It's their first game in nearly a month. I know Coach Quigley was chomping at the bit to get back on the court. Still playing without Avery Chapman from all accounts, at least if you believe the stats on Max Preps. Hopefully she'll be able to get back on the court soon, but good to see Eastlake picking up another win, dusting off the rust a little bit as they move up to number 9. And welcome to the top 10 to the Seminole Warhawks. Fittingly enough to have Coach Hobbs later on in the show. Seminole won 4 of their last 5 games since the Keswick Suncoast Classic. Back-to-back wins over a rival St. Pete. It's always a good big win for the Warhawks there. And they pick up a big win this week over Largo, led by Devin Schwartz and Laney Pearson, which has kind of been the telltale for the Warhawks all season long. And again, we'll hear from Coach Hobbs on that as the show, as we go through the show. Look, you have a couple teams knocking on the outside. St. Pete Catholic very well can make a case for that number 10 spot, sitting at 8-8. Coach Nick over at St. Pete Catholic, when you take into account you lose your leading scorer for the season and Liv Geritano, someone that could average over 18 points a game last year as a sophomore. Set the Barons, though, have really taken the course. One step at a time, battling every single game, finding ways to win games, and that's been a telltale for the St. Pete Catholic program this year. Certainly knocking on the door for the top 10. Northside Christians certainly right there. You have Indian Rocks not too far behind. A number of Bogey is the other one that's certainly. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Pirates make a little bit of a run in the second half of the season, even though they have a tough schedule ahead. But teams knocking on the door. Just as we look back on the results from last week, some top performances in some big games and some big moments. Devin Schwartz again for Seminole, finishing with 20 points and 5 rebounds against Largo, a tough Largo squad led by Michaela Pascal. But it was Devin Schwartz finishing with 20 points in a big effort. And then Clearwater's Pink Sturdivant, always known already as one of the leading scorers in the county. She finished with a double-double against Bogey, finishing with 27 points and 12 rebounds in Clearwater's 30-point win over the Pirates. Once again, proving to be a tough out. Clearwater offensive explosion with their guards and Pink Sturdivant and Olivia Williams with Q Turner in the middle, certainly causing some headaches for teams down the stretch. So those top 3 performances on the girls' side wraps up the girls' ranking side. Not a whole lot of movement, but again, welcome to Seminole and making their top 10 debut in the Pinellas Courtside Connection top 10 this week. We look over at the boys' side, lots of movement, but not movement. Yeah, the top 5 stays the same. We've said this from day one. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, and that's, again, we saw a little bit of a scare with the Gibbs game where they were clearly challenged by Calvary. But again, You have Gibbs holding firm at 14-3 atop the rankings. They added wins over Pinellas Park earlier in the week. It also picked up a big win over Tampa Catholic. Again, always a tough competitor in the Crusaders from over at Tampa Catholic. Gibbs picking up a win by 10 points in the 80-70 win this week as well. Seminole holds number 2 on the boys' side. Picked up a win over Central from over at Brooksville. They have a big one coming up this week against number 3 Eastlake. So the number 2 team and number 3 team, Seminole versus Eastlake on Tuesday, January 16th. Probably about the time that this is airing. It's going to be a must-see matchup. It will be interesting to see how it shakes up. Eastlake's had that balanced attack, balanced scoring. Seems to be a different leading scorer every single night. An advanced scout nightmare when you can't really figure out who to take away from that Eastlake offense. It should be a good one, though. It's one of those get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a good one. St. Pete holds firm at number 4. You got 3 teams locked in at 12-5 already. Eastlake, St. Pete, and Lakeside Christian. Lakeside Christian having won 10 of their last 11 games. Certainly be a tough one. Eastlake holds the edge over St. Pete. Again, given that they won the earlier season matchup between Eastlake and St. Pete with the Eagles coming out on top, they get the edge at number 3. Again, it's a little slightly different than the FHSAA rankings from last week, but that's certainly those head-to-head competitions in county matter most. Bogey holds firm at number 6. They had a 1-1 week, a tough 2-point loss against a Holland squad led by Coach Loster over. That hard to hold firm at number 6, but given the 1-1 week and the other results, they do. Coach Cason's Pirates hold firm at number 6. Northeast bumps up a spot. They had a big win over Largo last week. Dominic Brown checking in with 17 points and 4 steals, a defensive headache for the opposition on any given night. Dominic Brown had a chance to see him in action over a break, and just a tough competitor. Luis Ruiz with a double-double in that game for Northeast, the Vikings, as they move up one spot. Again, Ruiz with 13 points, 10 boards, and a near triple-double as he added 7 assists. Quite the effort, quite the well-rounded effort from Ruiz and the Northeast Vikings. Number 8, Countryside. If there was a surprise team in county, the front runner for that award would be Countryside. They lost their 5 leading scorers from last year. They sit at 12-6. Big wins this year. Picked up a big win this week over Clearwater in a rivalry matchup. Again, Countryside, maybe some surprise to some outsiders. I'm sure the Cougars weren't surprised themselves, but great to see that consistency in the program as a Countryside Cougars hold at number 8. Calvary moves up a spot to number 9, and Largo dropping to number 10 in this week's top 10 rankings. You have Hollins right on the outside knocking on the door. Coach Loster, again, goes from a 4-win season last year. I believe they've won 9 or 10 games already this year, making a big difference in Pinellas County. And you have, of course, Lakewood, Clearwater, CCC, Admiral Farragut, a team led by Danilius Galambauskis, as we've often referenced. All of these teams, not teams you'd want to face for a second time in districts or as the postseason action. Tough competition. Again, anybody in Pinellas County on the boys' side clearly with a chance to beat anybody on any given night. Well, that's a quick check-in on the top 10 on the boys and girls side. Little bit of a shake-up on the boys' side is it on the bottom half of the top 10, and as we said on the girls' side, the Seminole Warhawks checking in at number 10 this week. And with that, we'll bring Coach Hobbs into the show. We get Coach in. Coach, how we doing?
I'm doing terrific. What fantastic news, Kevin. If you put me in the top 10 there, my Warhawks, I'll come on every night.
Welcome to the show and welcome to the top 10 party, Coach.
Thank you.
Just as an introduction, Coach Hobbs is currently in his second season as the girls varsity head coach over at Seminole here in Pinellas County. For For the last 2 years, Coach Hobbs, along with JV head coach Paige Lawson, really focused on rebuilding the Seminoles program. And we have seen that transformation and bringing that energy every single night. We've had the opportunity to see coach in action, whether it was summer league action over at Keswick, whether it was a JV tournament with Coach Lawson and their teams, with Coach Hobbs on the sidelines, and even this year with the Keswick Suncoast Classic. There's just that added sense of energy anytime the Warhawks enter the room, and it's not just because of that bright orange shirt, Coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Keswick Christian and you also, you and Coach King, because it's a lot easier to rebuild a program when you have such a great partner right down the street who spends so much time and energy and resources in girls basketball. So we just are able to hop onto the train and help where we can, and it makes it a lot easier for us. So first off, thank you.
No, that's awesome. That's great. Always great seeing you and catching up. Coach, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of a background on your coaching and introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, sure. I'm a retired corporate executive who's just too young to spend every day in the villages playing golf. So I decided to give back to the community, pay it forward and instill, teach life lessons to young kids through the game of basketball. That sounds a little corny and cliche, but that's really what I'm doing. And I think that's what comes across when you watch us play is that I'm just a crazy guy with no worries and having the time of my life, sharing what I know.
That's awesome, Coach. It's for those that don't know Coach, you haven't seen Coach. My two kids, our two youngest, Jack and Kendall, always look forward and they see Coach Hobbs and enter the gym, and I get hey, Coach is here, Coach is here, Coach is here. I always wanted to come say hello. So that energy is certainly contagious. And,
well, you've got a great family, Kevin, and your kids are tremendous. They work the scorebook, the clock. They do the prayer before the game. I mean, most valuable family over there.
Well, thanks. I appreciate they embrace the opportunity. Certainly, you touched on it a little bit as an opportunity to give back from a coaching side, but it's a lot of time, a lot of commitment. Why coaching and why coaching basketball?
I played basketball in high school, and it's what I always did growing up. So I'm attached to the sport, but no, I had no intention of ever coaching once I hung up the sneakers. I did radio play-by-play in college. People probably didn't know that. I actually was the play-by-play voice for Rollins College for 3 years, followed the Mad Dog Christopher Russo, who of all people preceded me in that role. But I decided to go to the corporate route. I got married, had a family, and it wasn't until I had my 3 daughters who I said, you got to play some sport. You can't not play sport. And so they chose basketball. And that's where, they never have enough youth coaches. So somebody convinced me to be a youth coach, and all of a sudden I got the bug. And then I had some time and was fortunate enough in my financial situation where I could just walk away from all that and say, I can try this at a higher level. Let me see if I can do this at the high school level. And started at Bishop Verot, spent 2 years down there, and then I got the job at Seminole 2 years ago.
And you take over at Seminole. What was the most important area for you to focus on with your program there as you started?
Well, it was the depth. It was the numbers. When I got there, the prior year they had a 3-game JV season. They had 6 girls that played JV basketball, 3 of whom really should have just been in the band. And I had to do something about that because you can't have a program with that few players. You'd have nobody to compete against. You have nobody to practice against. There's nobody to develop. So I spent a lot of time trying to recruit people my first year. And I also got very involved at the middle school. When I walked over and introduced myself to the middle school coach and started showing up at their practices, they were thinking, who is this guy? And then we brought the players over and we had little sister, big sister days. We went to their games. We did summer camps. Then all of a sudden, basketball became sort of a cool thing. And now I can't wait to see how many 9th graders show up next year. Very excited about that. So that was the biggest thing we had to address is just the number of players.
No, that's huge. And it's amazing to see the quick turnaround with that. Especially you have a sport that the state's willing to make adjustments with a 6-quarter rule or whatever it is, just to make sure that there's teams. And while the basketball side of it has been important, just the numbers, and you touched on it a little bit there with the big sister, little sister involvement, and a little bit more than just the games for you guys, hasn't it been?
Yeah, because I mean, we're really competing not only against Keswick and Clearwater, we're competing against the volleyball team and the soccer team. And these girls can't play everything, and we want the athlete is not sure and isn't fully committed to a sport yet. We would like basketball to have be in the conversation. And so that's what we try to do. And some of the things that we do inside the program at the high school level is geared the same thing. Is that, man, if you play basketball, you get to go there. Well, I think if you incentivize things the right way, people will choose your sport. At least I hope that's how it works out. If not, I may be in the villages playing golf sooner than I think.
Well, just as we talk about that, tell us a little bit about your team this year. Obviously, you got 2 great seniors in Lainey Pearson and Devin Schwartz, who can really fill it up. But just talk about your team and your makeup of that whole group.
Yeah, well, first off, Devin and Lainey are terrific. A coach usually has their best season when their best players are their seniors and their leaders, and that's certainly our case here. People are starting to ask us around town, how do we get good? And well, it starts with having good senior leaders, and those are 2 good senior leaders. Lainey is an Indiana kid, so she's got a high basketball IQ. She had her career high today. She scored 33 points down at IMG. It's hard to score 33 points in a girls' basketball game at the high school level. In fact, Seminole High School hadn't scored 33 points, the entire team, in some of our games this year. In fact, I think Keswick, I don't know if we got to 20 against you guys, but Lainey did score 33 today, and so she's a big part of things. She's obviously is our leading scorer. She's averaging over 14 points coming into today. And then Devin, great leader. She's the leader of the spirit group called Wally Warzone at the school. She's 5'11". She's the district champion high jumper. And so in addition to 5'11", she can jump out of the gym. In fact, this week, even though we lost to Palm Harbor, Palm Harbor's got Leah Baker, 6'5" center, and Devin won the tip. So that's pretty cool. And in fact, Devin also, she's the homecoming queen at our school, and she's in the top 20 in the state of Florida in block shots. So put those 2 together. How many times in the history of America has the homecoming queen been in the top 20 in block shots? I don't think that happens very often. So yeah, we're lucky to have her. We got some other really cool players. Kai Batchelor, very tiny, mercurial point guard, shooting guard. She wreaks havoc on people. She was the primary defender when we upset Largo this week. Had her on Michaela Pascal. And, I'm sure Michaela's had teams play her box and junk defenses, but probably nobody that small. And so it was a bit of a shock, I'm sure, for her, and we were able to do that. We have Ava Santori, another sophomore player who great athletic skills. Probably nobody plays as hard as she does. She plays so hard, she sometimes hurts herself. Running into the floor, the bleachers, she seems always got a minor injury because she plays so hard. So we have some talent, but it's slow developing. These are not people that have been basketball only players. Devin, she was a gymnast first and didn't really start playing basketball till the 9th grade. But it's starting to come together as we scored today another 50-point game. So 3 of our last 4 games, we scored 50 points. We've won 4 of our last 6. And there's some asterisks in there. We beat St. Pete twice when they didn't have Ella Abernathy, who's probably one of the best players in the county. I mean, she's really, really good. And we were fortunate in the sense that she was hurt. So maybe there's an asterisk on our number 10 ranking, but you got to put somebody in number 10. And we'd have won 8 games. And if we're not there anymore, hey, it's been a success. We made the Courtside Connection top 10. I can go to sleep and sleep well tonight.
That's awesome. Coach, you talk about the depth and bringing the numbers. How important is it having someone like Paige leading the way on the JV with the JV group? I mean, she does a great job in game stuff, but just her presence having this connections at the school and everything else.
Yeah, well, it's terrific. She's a great trainer and a great coach, and maybe more importantly, she's a young woman who's, in her mid-20s, and I clearly am not a young woman in my mid-20s. So there's a generational gap sometimes, and she helps fill that. And she loves the school. They talk about Steve Spurrier returning to Florida, what a great coach he was, and now the Florida wants to bring Tim Tebow back, and Tennessee fans want Peyton Manning to coach their team. There's a lot to be said for that. She loves the school. She's got everything in her mind is right about that. I tell her that when I do go to the villages, she will be my recommended replacement. I mean, I think she's terrific. And because she's a good trainer and she has her heart in the right place, what she's allowed me to do is keep some of my best potential players playing JV primarily this season. We started with 12, 2 girls who decided not to continue playing basketball. So we have 10 girls right now. 8 of them are freshmen. Many of them can play on varsity teams throughout the county right now. And I have them playing with Paige to learn how to play basketball the right way, the mental side of the game, learning the fundamentals. And we sacrificed a little bit in the short term at the varsity level, but I think long term, we're going to get to next season and we're not going to have Devin and Laney, and people are going to say, how is Seminole still winning? Well, it's because we kept these players in JV and Paige coached them up.
Yeah, and I certainly have a biased opinion on the importance of JV basketball and the development. It's a huge part of, I think, the continued success of a program, and obviously having someone like Paige leading that way, and it's just a good group of girls that buy into that is so important.
Yep.
You talked about it, you touched on it a little bit before, and we've joked about the Warhawk World Tour. You guys have been everywhere from Disney World to Fort Myers to see Caitlin Clark play and catching IMG today. How important was just those opportunities for not only for this group, but the younger group moving forward?
Well, one of my primary objectives is to create memorable experiences for the girls. They're not going to remember whether or not we beat Braden River on December 8th, 5 years from now. And if they do remember if they won, they're not going to remember by how many or any of that. But what they will remember is the special times and special experiences we did as a team. And so, we took the girls to start the season on a whirlwind tour because, the FHSAA decided to schedule girls basketball on Thanksgiving week. And I know there was a lot of griping in the coaching community, and because a lot of administrations don't want to work, and it was a problem. I decided to take the other route as a life lesson thing for the girls. Is look, when life throws you lemons, you got to make lemonade. So rather than complain about the fact that we couldn't play, we can't play a home game. I mean, even at Seminole, the boys were having a tournament, so we couldn't play a home game if we wanted to that week. So we took them on what I call the war. I think Kevin, you may have even come up with this name, the Warhawks World Tour. That may be your phrase, but we decided to take them we opened up at a team in Central Florida, then put them in a hotel. We hung out at Disney Springs as a group, as a team building event, then played the next day up there. But we didn't just play a game. Then we went that morning, we went to Rollins College and got a tour by their girls basketball program. Got to eat lunch in the cafeteria, hang out with college kids, and got to show a lot of girls who maybe never thought about even going to college, look around and see the Rollins campus and say, maybe I should study harder in class so I have that door open should I choose to take it. And it's been amazing how many parents and even players have said, because at first there was some griping about this. You're going to do what? You're going to make us go to a college? Now they're all saying, thank you for doing that. I mean, at IMG tonight, a freshman parent told me her daughter never even thought about going to college. That's all she talks about now. So that's the kind of stuff we did. And so that was our Monday, Tuesday. I gave them, was that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. And then Saturday, we did the day trip to Fort Myers. We played Bishop Verot. They were a little tough to handle for us at that point. But after the game, the entire group went to watch Caitlin Clark play. The Iowa Hawkeyes played Florida Gulf Coast down there. And we had a block of tickets of 50 families and players. And, the girls, half of them knew who Caitlin Clark was. The other half didn't really know, but they all know now. It's and
right.
Again, memorable experience though. They won't forget. And as they look back on the season, or their senior year or their junior year, they'll remember that trip. So yeah, that's the Warhawk Tour. And, why do we do this? We're Seminole. I have to be realistic. We're Seminole. We're not Keswick. We're not Clearwater. We're not Lakewood. So if we're ever going to reach those higher levels on the Courtside Connection top 10 list, if we're ever going to get above 10, we got to grow the numbers. We got to make it more of a attraction. So we're trying to incentivize people to see, play basketball instead of volleyball. And in this open scheduling, open enrollment program here, if you live in Largo, you live in Osceola, you can go to any school you want. That's where I would go. I would go to the school that's having the fun. I mean, so that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make it fun, have them know what's happening. And next year, for example, we're already in the works of taking the team to the Avengers headquarters where they filmed the Civil War movie. Just so happens I used to work for Porsche, and I know some people there because it's the same building. So we'll try to do something there and spend a day or two in Metro Atlanta. The girls that live at the beach, so there's not much you can't take them to San Diego. That's right. But you could take them to the Avengers headquarters.
Yeah, there you go. It was one of the, I know we had joked about it. It's like, how do you top this year and keep them coming back?
That's right. I thought about Las Vegas with the bright lights, but after not being able to sleep at Disney Springs with the kids in the hotel, I thought I'd never survive Las Vegas.
So true. And, it's great to try and bring back those memories and the basketball experience over at Seminole. Great to see teams growing in this area and with that leadership. Obviously a program that's been good in the past. One of our favorite players to ever play as a Warhawk, Coach King. Carmen King was a Seminole Warhawk. So it's always good to see, and it's always great to be able to get you guys on the schedule. It's getting to be that time of year where we're in the second half of the season. You start to look ahead to districts a little bit, and you guys have a tough one in that, and you have Clearwater. But Clearwater, Hollins, Northeast, and Osceola, if I'm correct.
That's correct. Yep.
How do you prepare for the postseason, especially with the young group and that balance with the senior presence as well?
Well, I guess we're fortunate in one way in that Hollins, Northeast, and Osceola are also sort of rebuilding programs. So it's not like I'm not sure which one that is, the district with Lakewood, Gibbs, and or whoever it is, Gibbs and Holy Names.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not in that group, so that's good. But we are in the district with Clearwater, and it's been a big challenge getting my girls to believe that's a winnable game. So that's, as you talk about how we prepare for the postseason, the big thing for me is I keep telling the girls, if Clearwater or Keswick or Lakewood wins a district title, it wouldn't really be a big deal. If Seminole wins a district title, this would be something that you can tell your grandkids about. Seminole hasn't won a district basketball title for the girls since 2005.
Wow.
We really are going to be the 2 seed. I mean, we're highly rated above the other 3, so we're going to get to host the semifinal, and then it's 32 minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's how I'm selling it to them, and I'm realistic. I think there's a big gap between the first 9 teams in your top 10 and then number 10. I think there's a big gap between 9 and 10. I appreciate you putting us at 10. But it's still 32 minutes, and stranger things have happened.
Yeah, no, and that's why you play the game, as the saying goes, and you don't necessarily have to be the better team. You just have to be the better team that night, or at least attempt to be
that night. And we also scheduled early. Like today, we played our 19th game. So by design, we're going to kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit, spend a little bit more time resting, recovering, working on practice, working on half-court offense. Because we're going to need half-court offense to beat either Osceola or Northeast because they play slow down 2-3. And then we got to be fresh to stay with Clearwater because that's a track meet. So that's what we're trying to do to get ready. Long shot, but hey, it was a long shot to beat Largo, and it was a long shot to beat St. Pete.
Absolutely. as you look at the season, what's your measure of success for this group?
Well, the main thing is if the culture continues to improve. It's really important that the girls like each other, get along, hold each other to a standard of excellence, which also includes how we treat each other. So that's the big thing I'd like to see us continue to do. But I already think it's been a success. I mean, to make your top 10, I mean, who would have thought that this year? We've had a Player of the Week winner in the Primetime Preps thing.
Yeah.
Laney won it the first week. Devin and Laney have both been nominated again. I'll be surprised if Devin wasn't nominated last week, and I'll be surprised if Laney isn't nominated again for this week. I mean, she scored 33. I mean, who scores 33? So, I mean, it's been a success in that sense. The JV we've won 8 games. We got varsity teams improving. We've provided the memorable experiences. So to me, it's already a success. Now it's just a matter of can we win the game we should win that matters February 7th, and then after that, it's icing on the cake. And then if the dream comes true and we win the district, then we do. But I think it's already a success. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better season.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the girls and your team just interact with each other. But I think you have what was it, Natalie Craig, who just graduated last year. She's been around. She comes back around, and you see. I think it might have been our JV tournament. Maybe it was another tournament game. You had girls that were coming over before practice to cheer on the girls and before they had to leave for practice. So just building that camaraderie is so important.
Yeah, the one thing that we haven't been able to really connect yet is with the alumni. But I got lucky. I ran into the former coach's dad who was doing grandfather duty, and he and his wife came. So it won't be long. We'll get the former coach involved. Get her out there at an alumni game or something. We're still going. We got a few more years here until we start playing golf full time.
Yeah, no, that's great, Coach. And I've already just been talking with some friends that have been at games and seen you guys play over summer league. Who really enjoy watching them play because just the high energy approach and just the encouragement and the reinforcement from everybody from the sidelines is. I don't want to say it's unique. Unfortunately, it's rare. It doesn't happen enough. But I think when you see something like that, people gravitate to it. So kudos to you guys. Kudos to you and Coach Lawson and the girls for buying in. It's been a fun program to watch grow in this past couple of years.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Coach. Thank you for joining Pinellas Courtside Connection. And what a way to celebrate on your top 10 debut. So thanks, Coach. That's awesome. It's Coach John Hobbs from Seminole, the girls varsity coach for the Warhawks, catching up on all things girls basketball over at Seminole High School, but touching on a little bit of just the importance of culture, building those relationships, and everything else that goes into a team and building memories. Awesome to hear from Coach Hobbs. And if you haven't been able to catch his team in action, they're a fun one to watch. They play with high energy, always encouragement and words from the sideline from Coach Hobbs and Coach Lawson. Always doing a great job. And on top of it, celebrating a top 10 debut. So kudos to the Warhawks. That was great to have Coach Hobbs on and to look. I know we will keep this week's episode a little bit shorter than normal, just given that we talked on Wednesday with Coach Johnson, this week with Coach Hobbs, lining up some exciting guests for the upcoming episodes. Got some players coming up. I think it's so important to get out and see these teams in action, get out and support your local teams, whoever it may be. We had the chance to see Lakewood in action this weekend, and man, they are a talented bunch. They're a talented bunch that can really score high energy on the offensive and defensive end. Certainly poised in a position where they could possibly make a run to Lakeland. A big game coming up, something that we've been looking forward to. Keswick hosts Lakewood on January 26th, a game that you'd want to see over at the Keswick gym. Certainly an exciting one at that. So many games, so much action to catch up on this upcoming week. We will come back with you next week with a new guest and some new updates and a new top 10. We'll have the scoring leaders. We'll post that throughout the week on social media. So important just to click, like, share, support in any way, and be sure to tune in to Pinellas Courtside Connection. Thank you once again, as always, to Totem Pole Nation for hosting this week's episode and all of the episodes for Pinellas Courtside Connection. And we look forward to seeing you guys out in the gym and out in the courts. Take care.